Double P podcast. Double P.
What I like to call
Double P.
What I like to call
Double P podcast.
Welcome to
Myfanwy's
Epiphany, a podcast about the Rook. Currently airing in the United States on Stars. Today, we are going to be dealing with Chapter 6. There are only 2 more episodes/chapters left in this first season. I am Pawn Bubba, and with me is somebody I like to call Double C.
Double C.
Chevalier Catfish, how are you doing after Chapter 6?
Well, I'm in a way, I'm good, because forever and ever I thought, what the heck kind of show is this going to be? I actually, even though I've been complaining for 5 weeks, I was holding on. Maybe they'll retain some of what was in the book as far as like the big overall plot points. And today I've just released myself to Jesus' hands. I know exactly what kind of show this is going to be.
Okay.
And I know that they've completely thrown out the book altogether. So I've been freed, Pawn Bubba. I've been freed.
Great point, Chevalier Catfish. I think we need to let our listeners know that our true leader, Lady Stephanie, is unable to make the recording of this podcast, and she loved Chapter 6. She was a big fan of it. Catfish, you and I are going to have to give our rankings, and then we're going to break down the episode as best we could. So, we know we didn't get a ranking, but we know Lady Stephanie loved this Chapter 6.
Loved it. She said it was her favorite. I think she's super excited. I talked to her briefly before the podcast, and I said, let's hold off our discussion, so I can't give the full detail. But I think she was so excited that she just went out and partied. She said, forget this podcast, I'm going to party.
Well, she liked it, so let's hear it. Chevalier Catfish, what is your ranking out of 10 for Chapter 6?
I thought about this for a long time.
Oh,
and
good.
I was going to give it, first, as we started the episode, I thought, I'm going to rank this on the double M scale.
Double M?
Yeah, Mason memories, because I thought that she was going to decant her memories into a mason jar at first, but it just turned out she just drank something. And then, as we got through it further, I thought that I was going to rank this on the double S scale.
Double S?
Yeah, as we all know, that's the Checquy shaming scale. Because there was a lot of trash talking, a lot of blaming the Checquy tonight. But when it came down to it, as always, everything has to revolve around 2 things, Grantchester and Gestalt. So I gave it, and this is mixed. This isn't like this is more like a 2 rating and a 10 rating all in one. So I gave it 6, what we all know of as double O's.
Double O?
Yeah, office orgasms, because it seems like that's what Gestalt was about to have until they're like, "Can we have this discussion later? We're in a meeting."
So, you're saying it's 2 ratings. Does that mean certain parts of the episode you really liked and certain parts of the episode you did not like?
Well, I liked that they bypassed some stuff that I thought they were going to spend some more time on. Now, this is good and bad. For example, Grantchester's been investigating Myfanwy the whole time, and he had a lot of evidence, and then they sort of do their magical hand-waving, and instead of him, not trusting her for a while, all of a sudden, he gets her information, and boom, that situation is resolved. And then, as we all know, it seemed to me they set up the overarching through line of this season was going to be Myfanwy's got to hide her secret and figure out who did it. Well, in this episode, I'm surprised when they did the news thing about the sonic wave, they didn't say, also, further information, Myfanwy lost her memory, because everybody freaking knows now.
Yeah, but now that she knows exactly what happens, it's okay that everybody knows.
It's not. The problem is, and I will say this about the show, and I suspect this is why Stephanie liked it, is I feel like they've been sort of hunting around, or maybe I haven't been paying attention enough, but either they focused on it, or it finally came to me. I realized what kind of show they're doing here. They're not doing a cool genre show that has some relationship drama in it. They're doing a relationship drama show that's got very, very small genre pieces here and there. That's completely not what the book was, and that's completely not what I'm interested in. But I think that's what they've decided. That's what their audience is interested in. So I'm surprised they didn't get to it till now, if that's what they're going for. But so I think they have finally settled on what they want to do here. It's just I don't like it, and I think Stephanie does like it.
Will you stop mansplaining and let me watch the episode?
I will. It's okay if I mansplain to you, Pawn Bubba.
Oh, good point. Good point.
Yeah.
I am like...
What about you, Pawn Bubba? What was your rating for tonight's episode? So beautifully named Chapter 6.
Let me tell you something. I thought this show, the way I would describe it before I ever watched it, was a espionage spy thriller with supernatural elements. The X-Men, but spies. And that sounds like a great show to me. Let me ask you something. Did they ever show any superpowers in this episode?
I mean, there was the superpower of shaming.
And so, I am sorry. I have got to give this only, and I mean only, oh boy, it is tough, only 5 TMs.
Wait, TMs? Not a double? 5 TMs? What are 5? What is TM?
Tea with marshmallows. Myfanwy's favorite. That doesn't make any sense, having tea with marshmallows. Maybe I could try it and I could like it. I apologize, listeners. I could not connect with this at all. This has become a relationship show, and to give the show its due, that is the most interesting part of it. That we've been saying for weeks, or I've been saying for weeks, the Gestalt is the most interesting thing on this show, and we want to laugh at it. But yeah, their little, listen, give me a moment here as we make out with Monica. You know, that was strong. Everything else, Myfanwy is the least active lead I've ever seen in a show. Does she ever do anything? Does she ever find out anything? And so I am tough. Listeners, we want you to tell us what you think. We're telling you what we think. We want to know what you think. Please find us on social media. Twitter and Instagram at DoublePHQ. That's the word double, the single letter P, the letters HQ for headquarters. At DoublePHQ at Double P headquarters. You can also find us on Facebook, Facebook.com/DoublePHQ. We have people who write us when we don't put these episodes out quick enough, but sometimes, to be honest, it's tough to get the energy to put this podcast out because this show meanders, and not in a like fun, let's see where it meanders over here, let's see where it meanders over there. We've now had multiple scenes of very powerful women going home and listening to a dithering husband or talking to a dithering husband who isn't really paying attention, doesn't care, yada, yada, yada. And as the season ends, I expect the action to ramp up. There's so many slow scenes. We're getting this flashback to, oh my God, we needed 3 bar scenes to show that Myfanwy's sister was the bartender in D.C. I just can't get started. It wasn't
the only thing that it was showing. But let's say, for example, for someone like me who's watching the show, for the supernatural elements, which I've already have given up on seeing anything that's really cool from the book, but at least to think that they're going to emphasize that, to see that Myfanwy seems to have an epiphany. And honest to God, Bubba, they still had me suckered in this show. She had an epiphany, and I thought, okay, somehow I didn't see what's going on, but she had an epiphany about something, and she's going to tell us it's going to have something interesting to do with the plot. No, it had to do with, like, you know what, Gestalt? I do have some feelings for you. Let's go somewhere and work it out.
Right.
And I was like, what the hell?
Let's go work out my feelings with you so I can remember stuff from my past. That is really using somebody, Myfanwy. Oh, boy, we are getting really tough on this. Catfish, we've got kind of various angles on this episode. We could start by following Myfanwy. We could jump into Monica's story. We could go to the Home Secretary and Lady Farrier. Which one interests you? Where do you want to start as we break down this episode?
I mean, I guess the only the one, because of the cliffhanger, it was Lady Farrier, because she's going to presumably tell us something that, you know what, Pawn Bubba, I'm still a sucker. I still, maybe somewhere, a small part of me believes that Lady Farrier is going to say something interesting and not say you really do like Gestalt.
Well, let's go through it. We're at the Home Secretary's home. She's talking about, maybe I am in position to be Prime Minister. Her husband is so zoned out, he can't even stop it. and he might be as interested as I am in Jennifer, the Home Secretary. But who shows up? Lady Farrier. Like, oh, okay, this is cool. They're trying to find Lady Farrier. Lady Farrier has Nazim, the EVA who can remove people's memory. This will be fun. This will be fun. Lady Farrier comes in. It's this icy scene. I think it's an okay scene, even if it's slow and doesn't have much of a pulse. Lady Farrier is going to hand over Nazim if she gets her job back. Good thing. What do you think about this plan here, Chevalier Catfish?
I mean, I'm almost at a loss of words here. It feels like the threat that Lady Farrier sort of makes an unspoken threat. It feels like the minister should be more afraid of all these people and what they could do to her. I mean, her real problem shouldn't be being manipulated by Lady Farrier. It should be that she gets, killed by some sort of sonic wave. The same thing. She should be afraid of Grantchester when she goes to depose him. And that's not what's happening here. It's politics instead of power. And that makes no sense to me for this world.
Do we know, does the Home Secretary have a power, or she's just, because she's such a high official, she gets in on the secret of the Checquy?
No, they mentioned it again today, and I'll say it again that it's different from the book because I thought it was so much more interesting in the book that they were an independent organization. But in other words, it seems like this is her group. As the Home Secretary, she's in charge of this group. Grantchester says to Myfanwy in a brief period of time when she was under suspicion by him, far too brief considering how much time has been set up in this show, that she's gone against the Crown because they are a government organization. So I think the Home Secretary is in charge. That's how she's able to decide, Farrier out, Grantchester you're in, no, Farrier out, Grantchester you're in, oh no, Grantchester you stay in because Farrier is bad.
Then Lady Farrier gets thrown in prison because Grantchester shows this. And then, let's hold off on what I thought was almost like a dream sequence ending to the episode where we go into Lady Farrier's cell. And let's double back to the yin to the yang. And that is that Grantchester, he begins the episode by quizzing Myfanwy. He's like, listen, you're being hit with search and seizure. You're being charged with insubordination and collusion with enemies of the state.
Right, you have to answer.
You have to answer. Right to silence is denied. Now, currently, you're not charged with anything. Myfanwy's like, what? Thanks, buddy. Grantchester, he looked at you and thought, what incredible power in a fragile psyche. Why did you betray us?
Well, it's a fragile package because, yes, yeah. Well, and here's the other thing is that this is sort of frustrating, and again, they've decided they don't really care about this part of it, which is weird to me. But on one hand, I'm glad that we got this Grantchester suspecting her out of the way. I'm not a huge fan of this kind of thing. But if you're going to set it up for episodes and episodes, it feels like a stronger move from Myfanwy is to not give all the answers. She still needs to hold her cards. We're taking away all of her power. I'm losing the word right now that has become the de rigueur word for, when you're the one in charge of your, you take charge of your life, and it's often used for female heroines. I feel like she should be holding on to, I've got to figure this out for myself. And instead she's like, yeah, I'll drink it. I'll give you all the info. You sort it all out. You know what I mean? Rather than like, I'm strong. I'm going to take care of this myself. I can't trust anybody. So once again, Myfanwy becomes, instead of what you keep talking about, where she is sort of the act or agency, that's the word I'm looking for. She doesn't have a lot of agency in her own story. So instead of taking that, she gives up the agency by giving the power, telling the whole story to Grantchester. And so once again, this is the thing we've been talking about all season, where like, is she really the lead of the show? She's the strangest lead ever.
The show is titled The Rook. She is the titular Rook. She is the actor who gets listed first in the credits. She is the actor who gets listed first in the credits. But, I mean, okay. So, Grantchester, he gets her to take it, puts her to sleep. He has the tablet, holds the tablet up to her face. While he's doing this, Myfanwy recaps the last couple episodes, and then pre-memory wipe Myfanwy kind of spells out the rest of what's going on. Theoretically, he believes this, and so, okay, you can just go, you can leave, you can do whatever you want. Oh, P.S., here's Nassim's phone that you can have back so you can call your sister. What?
Well, I believe that only because these people believe fully in their powers. So I believe that. Also, it's like, what's the point of her telling him all this and giving away all this if he's not going to believe it? I mean, I see your point where it's like, all right, we're just going to hand wave this away. But they decided to hand wave it away when she gave up all her agency, as they say again. But the thing I thought there was, great in that she left 2 2-minute videos for herself. What was nice was, what I liked about it, and maybe they meant this intentionally as far as what her character was, I don't remember so much her first video, but I feel like in both videos, she expressed remorse that Myfanwy didn't make the other choice.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So the other one, she's like, well, it might have been better if you'd gone away, but I understand. And this one, she's like, oh, I'm a little sad that you didn't stick around.
Damned if you do, damned if you do. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Thanks a lot, Ma.
So they let her go. Let's leave Myfanwy to the side for a bit. And
Why not? The show's doing it.
Right. And let's follow Grantchester. Grantchester is now having sexy time with his PR lady, and they're coming up with a great spin about the sonic boom. That'll explain it. When the Home Secretary comes in and she sees them being very frisky. Ooh.
I mean, my God. Grantchester, look, I mean, he's the man. He knows how to tie a fat tie, which I can't do. But, bro, you know what? Either lock the door or, do, high school dance, ruler length. My God. You already got busted by HR. I'm telling you, HR, they got to hire some more people between Gestalt having orgasms at the office and Grantchester nailing everything that moves. They're going to have a busy, busy time there.
Let me tell you something.
Tell me.
The Home Secretary says, listen, you're going to have a hard time being king. Do you see him with all these ladies? He's already the king.
The hashtag a true story.
All right, so the Home Secretary is letting him know, I'm going to reinstall Linda Farrier, Lady Farrier. She's going to be the king. You're out, Grantchester. When he shows her the video of Myfanwy blaming Farrier, she says the infamous line while he's trying to say, look at how bad Lady Farrier is. Look at how bad Lady Farrier is. It's the Home Secretary who says, stop mansplaining. Let me watch the tape. Great line. Yeah. Fun. We love the cattiness here on this podcast.
We absolutely do.
But does this imply Grantchester is, quote-unquote, the big bad? Remember, when he was interviewing Myfanwy, he had the tapes turned off. He wasn't recording anything she said. But as soon as she said Lady Farrier's the villain, he signals the Gestalt, says, turn on the video. Here he's showing it to help his career and keep his power as king. Is this like Lady Stephanie pitched last week? Is this setting up a heel turn or a heel reveal of Grantchester as the big bad?
I mean, it could be. It would be nice. I think it would be fun. And I don't want to spoil too much. It would be fun if Gestalt was the bad guy.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they make... This is the other thing. In the book, Gestalt is so intimidating and so scary.
Yes.
So here they have really... it's funny, I don't mean to kind of make this pun, but since they're mixed sex, but they've really kind of neutered the character of Gestalt in that you're not really afraid of them.
No, you feel sorry for them half the time.
Yeah, and it's weird. I mean, I feel like all these people should be threats. I mean, again, they've taken away all the power and mystique of of this organization, because basically all they're dealing with is why does this need to be a military organization? All they're doing is tracking down people, special abled people who are sold on eBay, and cleaning up their own mess that Myfanwy made of killing a whole bunch of people. and then Lady Farrier comes on because of what the whole situation. It's like they're not. Show us one time them dealing with what they are supposed to deal with. It makes no sense to me that they don't do this at all, and they decided to go down this whole other track. It makes the world so insular, and they've taken away some of the major characters from the book. It's like there's not a whole lot of people to play around with here.
No, that's exactly right.
Who's the bad guy and shifting alliances and stuff like that.
So I believe that's the last we see of Grantchester. We've talked about how Lady...
Too bad. we know what he's doing. Wherever he is, we know what he's doing.
He's putting somebody to sleep so he can get busy. All right, how about we go to Monica, and I will stay right off the top before we get into Monica's story this week. That this drove me bonkers. Why did I give the episode such a poor rating? This Monica stuff... I was like, how? It didn't make a single lick of sense to me. It actually begins, first and foremost, with the Gestalt, who were there in the park when the sonic boom, when Lady Farrier's sonic attack happened. They were in the park with Monica Reed. But is it possible that Lady Farrier's sonic boom kind of knocked everybody so dizzy they don't know what's going on? But we start the episode with the Gestalt looking, tracking her. Oh, wait. The tracking device, her phone, is in this trash can. Monica is walking around, stumbling. It looks like she's on drugs. She's still dazed from the sonic attack of Lady Farrier. Yet somehow we're going to follow her. They're looking for her. The Gestalt is. They go to the secretary and kind of have a sweet moment about, did you know about Myfanwy? Let's not even get into that. But Monica's back at her hotel room, and she's going to start remembering a flashback to Marcus Kevlar, her man whose death, theoretically, at the bridge explosion, is that where he died? I'm almost kind of blanking where he died.
Well, let's say that he died. Now, I remembered in my own head without any sort of other impetus that, remember, there's somebody who woke up and walked out of the Checquy. Now, I'm surprised that no one has reported this to anyone else. Hey, we only have 10 bodies where we had 11.
Right.
But, I mean, who else could it be but Marcus? It has to be Marcus who's the one who walked out. Doesn't make any sense. Otherwise, he's the only other one that we give a crap about, that we've cared about the entire time about any of the people who got killed at the bridge.
No. Well, that's a great point. What's the name of the person who died but didn't die or came back to life at the bridge? Is that character named Peter?
I have no idea.
Because him singing at the end of the episode really, really freaked me out.
It was really, because he's such a bad singer.
Right. Tempted by the fruit of another.
I mean, I've never heard anybody destroy that song, and I've been to karaoke a lot.
So Monica, she has her first version of her flashback, and it shows that Marcus is going to take this new position there at the American equivalent of the Checquy. She's like, hey, don't do it. He's like, listen, I love you. She ends it by kind of, the way I read it is it's like, oh yeah, I love you too, of course. Like she's just saying it to humor him. She goes back to her hotel room, but wait, they're going to replay that same scene. It's slightly different the second time. What did you think the second time it happened? Because the first time I saw it, I was like, what is going on? Are we supposed to be emotionally invested in this Marcus Kevlar relationship with Monica Reed? We never once saw it. And now when we're seeing it, it's like she didn't really care about it. What's going on? What did you think of the first two Kevlar flashbacks here, Chevalier Catfish?
The only reason why I was interested in it, because I thought that maybe something different was going on. And I'll tell you why. It was because at least some of these scenes followed Lady Farrier talking about how good Nazim is. sort of, you can target maybe little tiny memories or whatever. So I thought that maybe what was happening here was that I know he takes away memories, but maybe she was remembering stuff the way Myfanwy did, and that maybe she had false memories implanted. So if you look at it from that point of view, the 3 different scenes are really interesting. But since that's not what's going on here...
You almost convinced me to look at it that way, Catfish.
Well, I mean, think about it. I mean, how else could it be? I mean, it's not like when we remember things, we remember it and then we go, oh no, that part of that memory was false. Like, so I'm not quite sure what is going on, but the idea that maybe Monica Reed's memories had been messed with, that I thought was interesting.
Yes, exactly.
I also thought when we first saw her, and your explanation makes more sense, her just being dazed, and you know, in the end, she knew who she was and everything, but I first thought maybe Nazim, you know, kind of hit her a little bit. But you're right, that's what was happening. So basically, my own internal storyline about Monica, I think, was more interesting than the actual storyline that was happening with Monica.
Hold on. Well, let's get to take 3 there, Catfish. Take 3 of this bar scene. They're fighting. The bartender always drops the check. And it's, wait a minute. Who's the bartender? Bum, bum, bum. It is, say hello to the Double B.
Double B?
Bronwy, the bartender.
Hey, but you know what? But before we get into that, let's just talk a little bit more, because this is since they gave us the scene 3 times, let's talk a little bit more about the differences, right? Because the first time you described that went pretty well. The second time seemed more loving. Oh, yeah. And then the third time was completely not loving.
Not at all.
So it was strange the way that progressed. Like, you would have thought maybe she would have remembered it most loving, less loving, not loving at all.
Well, so, it's like Lady Farrier said, our memories are like glass.
Yes, in that we break it and then it becomes something different, and then we break it again and it becomes something different again.
That's exactly right.
Okay, all right, I got it now. So yeah, I mean, I fully support the idea of it, and like I said, I thought it was going to end up being more interesting than it was. But you're right. There was a lot of time to spend to really go into a relationship that I guess they want us to care about. But again, tonight was all about the relation. It was all about making this a relationship drama.
Right. So I really, really, really didn't like any of those scenes. I even wrote what the blank is going on during the third one. One member of the Gestalt, it's the guy we like to call Double H.
Double H.
Harpo Hair, he shows up. And he tells Monica to close her eyes. Now, Monica has super strength. If she doesn't want to go in, if she doesn't want to do anything, she could seriously F this guy up. But instead, she's just going to stand there because she's been drinking. He wraps his hand in a cloth. He wraps her right hand. Where do you feel that? My right hand, not your left. And it's a quote-unquote seduction scene. What is going on?
Yeah, I don't understand it at all.
Now, even as I say that, it's actually some of the best stuff in the episode because the Gestalt are so fascinating and what this would be like. But the way that you can sell it based on what's happening in the episode is that Gestalt is feeling rejected and hoodwinked by Myfanwy. And Monica Reed is feeling, after searching her memories and coming up with 3 different stories, is now feeling hoodwinked by her quote-unquote boyfriend. And so they just need a personal touch, but it's strange. It's strange. Right, but we like weird. It gives this show some life. A lot of scenes I feel are lifeless. I mentioned that the cattiness between Lady Farrier and the Home Secretary, that was okay, but it wasn't that biting. It was kind of low energy blackmail. Hey, give me my old job back and I'll give you Nazim. So
this is not Lady Tyrell.
No, she is not dropping the mic after talking some snaps. Not at all. Yeah. So that gets us to Monica Reed. What do you think is the point? Well, let's say what the point is because Myfanwy is the bartender, Myfanwy's sister was the bartender in D.C. That means Marcus wasn't a vulture, he was part of the resistance. So therefore, he's really a good guy. The whole time, she's been acting like she knew he was a good guy. She's kept screaming at people, he's not a vulture. So I think as an audience, we weren't supposed to ever believe he was a vulture. Now, she gets real excited because guess what? He's not a vulture. This is just tough with only 2 episodes left, I have to be honest.
Well, I would also say this. You know, you said the resistance. And when you say it, I hear the capital R resistance, right? Mm-hmm. The resistance. This would be like if in this episode somebody said the Lugot, which has been brought up before. Have I just not been paying attention? Or is this the first time somebody uses the term resistance as if it's something everyone knows about, but no one has ever freaking mentioned before on this show?
No, to me, this is a new angle we're bringing in here.
You can't just drop it like everybody knows about it, but no one said anything about it before.
Listen, I can drop it. Don't tell me what to do. I'm going to drop this new twist.
Pick it up. What the heck is going on here? All of a sudden we got the resistance. I mean, again, the Lugot's been a red herring on this damn show, and they've mentioned him so much. All of a sudden the resistance is mentioned. Myfanwy's sister is like a big deal in it, and we got a lot of that. Well, we'll get into that other when we do the heavy duty Checquy shaming, which again is, I mean, I don't even understand. I don't like who gives a crap? Like, what? I'm here for this supernatural show. I'm here, and now it's gonna be all about children being taken away from their parents and how horrible the police state is. Like, what the heck? What kind of show is this?
It's the Rook, Catfish. That's what we're watching.
I'm not sure about that.
Did you want to have any talk? I kind of totally glazed over it on how the secretary suddenly feels bad for the Gestalt as they're talking to themselves, which is a pretty good joke on in that area with the columns. And so she gives up where Monica's hotel room is. Whose side is the secretary on? I mean, what? Huh?
Well, I mean, she does say, I know something was going on with Myfanwy. I mean, it's a real shame. The secretary was a big part of the book, interesting character. I'm sure if this woman got cast for it and read the book, she'd be like, yeah, this is going to be great. And then she gets her scripts and she's like, what kind of crap is this? Now, I want to say this. There was one thing that happened in that scene with Sybil and Gestalt that I thought was weird.
Okay.
And I think the show's just doing it wrong. I don't think they're trying to tell us this exactly, okay?
All right.
So let me ask you a series of leading questions like I'm a prosecutor.
All right, I'm on the witness stand. Let's do it.
Pawn Bubba.
Yes.
You are Gestalt.
Okay.
Are you truly upset when Sybil indicates that you did not know Myfanwy very well?
Yes, I knew her very, very... How could you say that?
Now, Gestalt.
Yeah.
Is it true that you are one person who just has 4 bodies?
If you want to describe me that way, I guess so, sure.
Okay, so then presumably if you're upset, one of you is upset, all 4 of you are upset the same exact way.
We're all upset.
Is that not correct? All right.
The same way.
So if you find out you are hurt, all 4 of you are emotionally hurt?
Yeah.
Does that mean that if you're really hurt, one of you walks out of the room hurt, and then the other one sits there and shakes their head at the other person for making yourself hurt?
Listen to me. I have different ways of thinking about it within me. I have the part of me that's like, how could she do this? Versus the, but I love her. Versus the, hey, that person's really, I didn't know them. And so I have all these feelings bottled inside me. So of course those feelings are going to be split over 4 members of me.
So then it is like you have 4 sub-brains not sharing the brain. The whole idea that we were explained was that they act in different ways.
Right, just for your benefit.
Right. So that means that you're being upset about Myfanwy since you're able to act two different ways. That was just performative upsetness. You're not really upset, Gestalt.
Well, 1/4 of me is.
But I don't see
25% of me is very upset.
I just I feel like they've gone somewhere with the Gestalts where that I don't know if they mean to go here, because they react different ways to the situation, and it not just physiologically. Okay, maybe they can act different ways. They've got different bodies, so maybe physiologically, but they're acting different ways, not as if they're the same person.
Did you like the scene in the area with columns where they were quote unquote talking to themselves, and we just heard their thoughts so we could understand what was going on? Once again, I did like it.
That one I liked. I just don't. I feel like when they do stuff that they think is cool, we'll have one walk away and upset, and the other one shake their head. They're not thinking about what this means about what Gestalt is.
No, let's not get into the showrunner's thoughts. This is what they're giving us. I admit it's not consistent, and I thought that during the episode when you mentioned that scene, that moment you talked about where one got so upset and left, and yet the female member, I believe they call her Eliza, hung out for a bit. But on the flip side, they're the most fascinating thing, in my opinion, in the show. So even if it's not consistent, even in its lack of consistency, it's the most fascinating thing. It's the thing okay, give me more of this.
Okay.
How do you think, Catfish, I don't want to give away too much of the ghost here, but you are an actor. What do you think of the acting challenges that there are 4 members of the Gestalt, they're played by 3 actors. What have you thought of the challenges they've had doing this role? Have you liked it? Have you thought it's good? What would be difficult about trying to be the same person when obviously these are 3 different actors entirely, and one of them has to do the movements twice because he's being duplicated as slicked back Gestalt and Harpo hair Gestalt? Well,
I'm not sure that it presents. It doesn't present as much of a challenge if they were okay, you're all going to act the same way. I mean, they've set up that they differentiate the way they are, and I think that reads in a way that, like I said, sometimes makes it confusing exactly what the situation is with their setup. So, I mean, I don't think they're having to act all the same way. That would be more challenging. But I like them, and I agree with you. I think they're the best part of the show. I'm not going to say they're doing a bad job. I'm just going to say they're not completely aping each other. So that part they don't have to worry about.
Right, and they explained it away on the show that, hey, it would creep out too many people if we were just so identical. So we've got to give ourselves little spins so as to not creep out other people. Where in the books, they were creepy. They were menacing. Once again, here on this show, I'm not sure they're menacing. I'm not even sure that if they're that effective at their job.
Yeah, no, right, exactly. And imagine if you could be in 4 places at the same time and have all that information. And it feels like you could use that in very nefarious ways, as I think you and I would if we had that situation. And it feels like in the book they do that in menacing ways, and here they don't. It's sort of, I mean, they work operationally. It seems almost like they could do just as well as if they had 4 walkie-talkies as far as operationally.
Don't give them any ideas.
Their effectiveness in the field. You know what I mean?
Oh, without question. Well, Chevalier, we've been putting it off. We need to follow Myfanwy after she's been grilled and her story going back home.
Okay.
So, she's been cleared. As I said, it was very bizarre that the Gestalt give Myfanwy this bag of here are your possessions. And, of course, one of those things was Nassim's phone. She goes outside. She calls the number. Who is it? It's her sister. Myfanwy goes home. She sees the roof that she fell off that we saw in a previous flashback.
I will say this, though. She's standing up for herself more. Even with her sister, she does provide a lot more pushback than I think she would have earlier. I mean, she really shows a lot of strength, I feel like, in this episode.
Give me an example of that strength.
I mean, when she says to Gestalt, look, I mean, I feel like some of the words could have been strong. Could have been like, I didn't know what was going on here. I was just trying to protect myself. But she's like, yeah, I lied to you. I was trying to protect myself. Like, it felt, and then the way she dealt with her sister, like, anybody could have that. It feels like she's a little bit stronger in herself than she was before.
To me, it felt like they were almost trying to set up this sister, and I hope I'm pronouncing Bronwyn correct, that Bronwyn was almost, could she be a villain? Could she be in on it? They didn't have too many warm moments between them, the two sisters. Now, of course, Myfanwy's trying to explain, I don't know you. I've never seen you before. Myfanwy, I should point out, with the Gestalt, says it's only been 5 days. Can you believe that? Every episode is 1 day.
Oh, my God.
Well, no wonder she doesn't know anything. It's only been 5 days. Give Myfanwy a break.
Right, and she's already made out with 2 of the Gestalt. She's had some double S.
Double S?
Yeah, psychiatrist sex.
Well, I'm not sure psychiatrist begins
but it sure sounds like it.
All right, so Bronwyn is talking crap about the Checquy.
Right, and this is where the Checquy shaming comes in. And again, I don't is this going to be a show about how all these children were abused? Like, I don't understand what, and to strike back against all these organizations. It's funny, the same thing was brought up by Monica Reed's boyfriend. But he's like, well, what am I going to do? Like, go back? They got me in a cage. So in other words, there was a lot of this talk of hashtag free the EVAs, and I don't understand what. Who cares? I mean, they're not. I mean, I understand tough break. For sure that was a small part of the book, but how is that a big part of this show? This is not about If
you want us to see the Checquy as this oppressive place in EVA suffering, show us the oppressive place. Show us the EVA's suffering. We have this secretary in the wheelchair who doesn't seem suffering that bad. She seems like she's okay. It doesn't seem like an oppressive 1984-esque type place. And so
no, it doesn't. And it's certainly to quote someone famous, Myfanwy's apartment certainly doesn't look like the kind of apartment you'd see in a shithole country. No, yeah, this is, look at how they're treating you so poorly by putting you up in this preposterously nice place. I mean, I'm not saying that stealing kids is great or anything like that, but I mean, isn't the whole idea this is this is part of the problem with the show. They haven't showed us that these people are important to the state in any way, shape, or form.
Great point.
They've done nothing to protect the state. All they do is cause trouble.
That's how they protect.
Yeah. So, and I thought that maybe when Myfanwy brought out her book, she'd learned something about Bronwyn. Instead, she had her own epiphany.
Right.
That it had nothing to do with the case or EVAs or anything, but it had to do with Gestalt. And I was like, okay.
Well, hold on.
I guess that's what matters here. It doesn't matter why someone tried to knock out our memory. It matters that we need to we're getting closer and closer to a 5-way ending the season.
That is the only thing that'll save it for me. But but I'm kidding, listeners.
Just a bunch of limbs and bodies.
I'm kidding. So when Myfanwy,
let's do it. Shit.
Myfanwy found the secret place where she hid her diary, and as she was flipping through her diary, I froze the image. I paused it there on my TV, and so I'm going to read this dramatic reading from Myfanwy's diary. You ready?
Yeah, I couldn't be more ready.
I had sex with Jay. It was incredible, but I'm covered in bug bites. This is because we had to keep the tent door open, as it was such a hot night. I didn't even notice them sting the shit out of me, because I was focused on other things. I really hope Jay doesn't tell, even though I know he might tell Colin, but me and Colin have been friends since year 3, so I'll probably tell him anyway. What the...
Now,
is that the way a teenage girl really writes? Am I lost here?
People know what's going on behind the scenes just so I can slam this show a little bit more. You sent that to me in a text.
Yep.
And the only reason why I believed it was actually real from the show was because if you had tried to fake one, you wouldn't have made it sound that ridiculous. You would have tried harder to make me believe that it was a real page from her diary.
No, that's it, man. Can you believe how odd this is for teenage Myfanwy? You know, maybe that's why the Checquy had to grab her. They're like, listen, kid, what are you doing here?
They just had to bring her and give her some training in how to use off spray.
Deep wood off. So
maybe deep. Don't use deep.
No, not with Jay. But listen, so she runs outside, or before she even goes outside, she starts having like a fever dream, or a repressed memory starts coming out, and it's of this scene. Once again, we're going to assume it's when her parents were away, and she went out and had a party with her friends there on the lawn. And you're beginning to think this is important. I'll go ahead and say what I thought was going to be revealed. Her sister Bronwyn told her that their parents died in an auto accident. I thought we were going to see, no, it's when Myfanwy fell off the garage roof and fried her dad. I thought we were going to see that she was the cause of death. But no, it didn't do either of those things. It just kind of made her think, when I get emotional, I can remember stuff. Hey, I can get emotional with the Gestalt. Let's go. This is it is a tough moment for me in this show. I want to say that I want to like Myfanwy. I want to be fascinated by her, but oh boy, is this tough for me.
Right, and so again, what they're focusing on this show is the relationship drama and then the emotional drama of her being ripped away, and with slight genre elements that they are not caring enough to make enough sense within the framework of the show. As I keep saying, who is the Checquy protecting people from? Just the Checquy.
And they're doing a great job.
And so again, you were trying to think of the overarching show. So this is becoming about people being in relationships and children being taken away. I'm not sure what the whole... At least I feel like they've identified, since they hit it so much in this show, I feel like they finally identified, and as I said before, I don't know, maybe I just wasn't paying attention before because I was hoping for a different show, but I feel like they finally settled into what kind of show that they want it to be.
Oh, yeah.
And that is a show that doesn't care, that uses genre trappings, but really it's sort of, romance and stuff, which is fine, but completely not the show that I was expecting in any way, shape, or form, and not really the show that I'm interested in watching.
Now, let me jump in and say that this, once again, is aired on the Starz cable channel here in the United States, and recently at the TCA event, the TCA stands for Television Critics Association, they come in and they talk to all the showrunners, they talk to all the people in charge of these things, and Starz came out and said, we want to go for premium women. Premium females, I think, is actually the definition, meaning they're a premium cable outlet, content outlet, and they're going to start focusing on women. They have had great success here in the United States with the show Outcast. I can't tell you the number of people who tell me admittedly they're all females, but they tell me they've seen Outcast.
Outlander.
Oh, sorry, Outlander. Yes, they love it, and they've seen Outlander. They love it. It is bigger than I think possibly Starz subscription base could be, and so maybe they're just they're trying to give their audience what they think their audience wants. Now, I would say women I've seen women who like action films, women who like horror films, women like different genres, but they are turning this into emotion and romance.
Okay, but let me say this in defense of myself.
Okay,
I am not anti-romance.
No.
Catfish and I started watching a show that was on Hulu that is not on Starz. I can't remember what show it's on. I can't remember what channel. It's broadcasting on a basic cable station now. Okay. That was genre, but had so much romance-y-mance, but I loved it. Mm-hmm. It's called A Conspiracy of Witches.
Oh, yeah, that was here on...
Basically, a witch, and she gets involved with a vampire. And, I mean, it is like... it's like Twilight for adults. We ate that up with a spoon. I think we watched all 10 episodes over 3 days. I mean, you can do it in a way that I'm going to be interested, and in a way where it feels like you care about the genre elements parts of it, right? Because there's a lot of magic and stuff in this show. Right. So it's freaking cool. I'm on board for the romance. Just give me cool stuff, too.
I would say that's what both you and I want. It's interesting that Lady Stephanie, nobody likes calling out somebody's gender, but Lady Stephanie is a female, is a lady, and she really, really liked this episode. I desperately wish she was on this podcast to defend it.
I know.
Listeners, you've heard us be so tough. We don't want to just hear from people who agree with us. Please, if you disagree, we will definitely take your thoughts and put them in the next podcast, and we'll talk about them, and we'll share that perspective at PHQ on Twitter and Instagram, Facebook.com/PHQ.
Yes.
Catfish, she goes into the office. She sees the Gestalt having a private moment in the conference room, like, not now, privacy. But then suddenly, it's like the world starts turning funny. I mentioned that this prisoner who came back from the dead, who I believe his name is Peter, was singing Tempted by the Fruit of Another. Is that the Gestalt being tempted by Monica? Let's not even go there. We go to Linda Farrier, Lady Farrier's cell. Myfanwy can get in somehow. It doesn't seem that secure. We end on a very kind of mental challenging moment where Lady Farrier's like, okay, I'll tell you everything. This is tough. What did you think of that ending? I say I like Strange, so I don't want to be too tough on the ending, but there weren't enough dots to get me there, I guess is what I would say.
I mean, all I would say is, I thought, all right, I mean, sure, let's see what you got. Let's see what happens next week when how Lady Farrier is going to explain everything. Let's see what they think everything is.
Only 2 more episodes.
Yay.
What do you need to see in these final 2 episodes? What do you expect? We talked about what we wanted to see last week. What do you expect in these final 2?
Well, I mean, I expect that it's funny. It feels like we've got the Lugot feels like a red herring, not that important.
I agree.
We've got the Resistance and the EVAs, EVA, and we've got the Checquy and then the American group. So that feels like 3 groups, and I feel like that's one too many groups for a show like this. So I feel like we'll have some clarity on the intersection of those groups.
Okay.
For example, if the Checquy is being listed as so bad, maybe there's people that the Checquy can't control, and so therefore they're going to put some more money in their budget by pawning them off. I have again, this has got nothing to do with the book. The EVA isn't even in the book, but it feels like that's one too many groups, and I feel like they're going to simplify it.
All right, I think this show, I keep thinking, okay, this is when they're going to unleash some powers. They're going to unleash some powers. I said this note on last week's podcast. This week, I'm not sure if anybody's powers were used. And so I think we're going to have 2 episodes that are kind of like this, that are relationship drama. And if you like it, I'm going to be excited for you. And I hope I get pulled into it as well emotionally and with my interest. But I think we're ending up on kind of a big cliffhanger. I don't see an easy way to wrap this up in 2 episodes, and I think we're going to be betting on there being a season 2. Be strong, Chevalier.
I'm just going to need some more liquor.
Speaking of liquor, it is now time, listeners, here on the Myfanwy's Epiphany podcast, where we give you our epiphanies, the things, the brilliant thoughts, ideas, and moments that come into our mind. We're also, if we need to, we're going to tell you about those moments where we need Nazim, the make me forget this Nazim moments. Give us some amnesia moments of the week. Catfish, are you ready with your epiphany or Nazim moment of the week?
Well, my epiphany, Pawn Bubba, is that, and I think I do this sometimes we forget things to sort of protect ourselves. And I always, by this time of the year, have forgotten about football because it's been gone from my life for so long. And then when it comes back, I remember how happy I am to have football in my life, despite my political leanings and my hate for all NFL owners. I'm excited for football to come back. And also, I'm excited that you are in my life because the exciting thing about football is also to hear you complain about your professional and college teams. So I forgot how much fun it was for football season.
Man, am I going to make your life fun this fall?
Oh, I hope so.
Well, that's pretty good. Catfish, I'm going to need Nassim for my moment, and I don't want to get too serious. We've had our tongues firmly planted in our cheek throughout the recording of this podcast. But here in the United States, we're recording this on August 6th, 2019. We have had some terrible things happen in this country as far as gun violence. We need people with superpowers so we can get these guns off the street, so we don't have to have people doing just horrific things with guns, which are pointless, in my opinion. So, Nazim, wipe my mind of this. Let me live a happy life again. Let me feel like I can go out and not always be looking for the nearest exit. So that is my Nazim, take me away moment of the week. Sorry to be so serious.
All right, that's a good one. I appreciate that one.
Listeners, you can always tell us your Myfanwy's Epiphany of the week. And once again, you can tell us what you think about this. Are you a book reader like Chevalier Catfish and I am? Or are you new to the series? Once again, from anecdotes and no research, it feels like if you haven't read the book, and you're easier to accept, okay, this is what the show wants to be, rather than coming in with preconceived notions about this being a more fun kind of spy story. But we will find out. For everyone here at the Double P Media crew, my name's Bubba. You can find me on Twitter at Fit and Trim. That's FITTENTRIM at Fit and Trim on Twitter.
And I am Catfish. You can hit me up at CJGman67 on Twitter. And we'll talk to you next week.
Right, hold on, please. And even though she is not here, I'm willing to bet that our good friend Lady Stephanie will be giving you her thoughts on why she loved this episode on her Twitter account. Follow her at SM Persephone, like the wonderful character Persephone. That's Persephone. So SM Persephone on Twitter, because we want to have some positivity. We want to have balanced views on our takes about the Rook. So, Catfish, are you ready for these final 2 weeks?
I am ready for these final 2 weeks to be over.
And you'll see us next time on
Myfanwy's Epiphany.
Tempted by the fruit of another.
Tempted by the fruit of another.
Tempted, but the show is undercover. What's been going on? There's no other. Tempted by an EVA lover.
Oh, gross.
All right, listen. It's 12:15. I'm going to bed. I'll talk to you later.
Get out of here.
All right, bye.
All right, bye.